Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericashow.com. Glad to have you here. It's Wednesday, halfway through the week. I think we're all excited about that. But there's something strange going on over on Rumble this morning. I was looking at the number of subscribers to my Rumble account, and if you are watching this over there, I think you've already noticed that the number of Rumble subscribers that we have this morning is 666. Which is bad luck. No, not today, Satan. So if you're watching this over on Rumble today and you're not subscribed to the channel, do us a favor and get thee behind me, Satan. Head on over there and give us a subscribe on the channel. What do you say? We're grateful to have you here this morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. Jeff Salen, Buddy Mansour, Studio 314, Quest Fanning, Robbie Thurman, my lovely wife, Steffi P. Good morning, Steffi. Matt Unruh, AC, Melissa Roysden, all joining us. Caleb Vanderfeltz as well. JP here with us, Andy Opperman, all over here on the YouTube channel. Nice to see you all bright and early this morning. Blue Trike's here with us. Richard Bell. Kermode Bear, what's up, brother? Nelson65 as well. Nice to see you, Nelson. Quick little update. So we are going to be doing the Wake Up America show at night. Tonight we're going to be doing a live GOP debate reaction. So you don't want to miss that. Make sure that you tune in tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. We're going to start the coverage. Now, here's the deal. There may be some hiccups in the coverage, and it has to do with the ability for us to be able to sort of stream the debate and react to it live, to play the video and then react to it live. Because from what we've heard this morning, Fox News apparently is going to be trying to shut down people who are going to be streaming the debates. So we might try like an audio version of it, but we're going to definitely be watching it and listening to it. So we're just going to stream our reactions. We're going to have a show going on at the same time. So if you want to watch the debate on your TV and then have the laptop open and have like a chat going on at the same time, I still think it'll be fun, don't you? So here's the deal. We're going to try and stream at least parts of the debate for tonight on YouTube, but there's a chance they might get taken down. They probably wouldn't do that to us on Rumble for sure, but who knows? It could get taken down. It's supposed to be fair use because we are legitimate political commentators with a legitimate political show, with a legitimate political attitude and view, and we're adding commentary to it. So, but who knows? You never know how big tech can be. So at the end of the day, we're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to have a nice stream. Stephanie and I will be watching the debates. Maybe we'll be able to pull it up so you can watch it there, but you might have to have it on your TV in the background. So it will have to be a 2-screen event, says Barney Styles. Yes. So it should be fun, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, of course, this morning. We'll give you a preview before tonight's debate and the candidates who made it and the candidates who won't. Of course, Trump looming large, not going to be there, so it should be interesting. Grant Sunnyman says he'll have to watch it on demand, possibly. Yes, good to see you here this morning, Grant Sunnyman. Good morning, good morning. We're glad to have everybody here today with us. Make sure if you haven't already, click that like button on the channel. We love seeing all of our friends who are joining us on Rumble today. We've still got 666 followers. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel on Rumble today, make sure you do that because we're trying to get Satan behind us. Mask mandates, are they making a comeback? As reported cases of COVID-19 and hospitalizations have been on the increase lately, companies and universities are considering mask mandates for indoor facilities. This is according to the latest statistics from the CDC's COVID-19 tracker. That's they say there were 12,613 hospital admissions, which is an increase of 21.6% from the previous weeks. During that same week, deaths were reported 1.3%, which was an increase of 8.3% from the previous week. Atlanta-based, the story that really kicked this off nationally was an Atlanta-based Morris Brown College has announced their school is reinstating their COVID-19 mask mandate for the next 2 weeks as a result of positive cases at the Atlanta University Center. How many times do we have to tell them that we will not comply, that we will not wear these diapers on our faces, that there is no point, there's no science behind it. It's just a measure to make certain people feel good. It doesn't do any good. Now, that being said, am I in a complete mongoloid? No. Do I want my surgeon, who is in a hospital environment, who is operating me on the table, to wear a surgical mask? Yes. What is the difference between a surgeon in a hospital environment wearing a mask while performing a surgery and people walking around in the outdoors with sweat and crap, touching their mask and putting, spreading more germs around? What's the difference between, well, one is a sterile environment with a trained professional who knows how to use these masks, and the other is the general public who sticks their finger up their butt and sniffs it in public. And yes, I've seen video of people doing that to each other, and it's the grossest thing ever. It's disgusting. Ew. Aww. No, that was the wrong sound effect. Anyways, if you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show, don't forget to, you can send us a text to let us know what you think. If there's any stories we might be missing, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 is the text line. You can text us anytime. What I expect you to do. What I would like you to do is, no mandates here. What I would love it if you would do is if you would take that phone number and put that in your cell phone and just program it in as, maybe just AP for Liberty, or just type in Wake Up Show or something like that. Because what'll happen is that way you can just be like, boom, go to your text messages and just, text us anytime that you like. And we don't sell your phone numbers or anything like that. I just, use it to like pretend that I wish that I could call you and, that we could be friends in real life, but I know we're not. Some of you are friends with me in real life. But Tolly Owens is not. She didn't come to the canoe festival this year. Boo, Tolly. Maybe next year. Kentucky Objectivist says, I've seen cloth masks on people's faces with dirty finger and thumbprints on the nose from adjusting the mask so much and never washing it, or their hands. Yeah, exactly. How many times do you go to the bathroom and you see people just walk out and they never wash their hands? They're in a public place, right? It's not like you're in your own home where you go and you take a quick little pee and then you go back to the restroom. Maybe you never even had to touch your wing or whatever. We're talking about people who go and they're like, and they're in public. It's stupid. I mean, but here's the thing: people like that, people who do that kind of stuff, and then they don't wash their hands and don't use hand sanitizer, they're gonna wear the masks, right? Because they're gonna be like, it's for my safety. Anyways, we're gonna talk about mask mandates and we'll get into it. And I've actually found a really good interview with our buddy Brad Palumbo that he did talking about some of these mask mandates at colleges. We're gonna get to that in just a few minutes. Donald Trump is skipping the debate tonight. Do you say yes? Is that smart? Or do you say boo? I wonder what your thoughts are about that one. We're going to talk about that. But of course, he is going to send surrogates tonight to the debate so that they can act on his behalf. We'll see what that has to say. It's going to be interesting. We just got an interview. Looks like Jesse Lee Peterson is going to be, let's see. Thank you again for the show. It was an amazing interview. Here's a link to the, oh, they've got a teaser out. Ooh, guys. Do you guys want to watch the teaser to my interview with Jesse Lee Peterson? I seriously didn't think that they were going to actually drop this interview. I thought that they were going to, I thought that they were actually going to totally skip it. Hold on. Let me get the interview set for you up here in the, I hope you can't hear that audio right now.
Policies from
return. Yes, this is going to be fun. Okay, so apparently so I didn't think that Jesse Lee Peterson's show was going to actually drop my interview because I thought they would think, because they really didn't play gotcha. And who knows, you never know with like deceptive editing or things like that, because it was a very hostile interview. Here it is, the teaser. Oh wow, they did a whole bunch of stuff.
Next time.
Okay, here we go. The Fallen State interview. Here we are. Okay, Austin Peterson. Of course, they spell my name right. Spell my name wrong. Thanks a lot, guys. They spell it right on the promo. Let's see. They spelled it wrong on the YouTube video, but let's see how it looks on the promo. You guys want to watch it? Okay, here we go. I know you guys are excited about this.
Next time on the fallen state.
In 2016, I ran as a libertarian for president of the United States. We probably are going to do better presenting a unified front against what the left has become, which is a threat to all of our liberties.
What's wrong with the blacks?
No one wants to be a part of the out-group, Jesse.
And are you a good person?
Oh, boy, you were asking the big questions today.
Do you like being married to a woman who is like your mother?
She's basically like sunshine and rainbows.
I actually enjoy when he sheds a tear. That's really cool for me.
I bet.
That's actually not bad. All right, so maybe they aren't gonna make it out to be as bad as I thought it felt like. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was the toughest interview that I have ever done. And I'm not kidding. I'm not just saying that so you guys will watch it. But what do you guys think? Are you Jesse Peterson fans, or are you like?
No, God! No, God!
Looks like it's coming out tomorrow.
No!
They've got a lot of great promos for it, so it'll be interesting. And yeah, the teaser. Oh, they did spell my name right on all the like promos that they made. They just spelled it wrong on the chickadoo. All right, interesting, guys. Are we excited about this? Let's go check over on Rumble and see if we're still Satan this morning, hailing Satan this morning. Yep, we've still got 666 followers. What is it? You guys want to see me worship Satan? What is that? It's not going to happen. Let's see. And then what are they saying over on YouTube? Let's check the beautiful people. Yeah, Steffi says she was brought into it without any notice or preparation. Imagine that. Joni Rankin says, are you guys able to run audio during the debate? Yeah, we'll be able to run audio. We're going to just try and do it anyway. If they take down our stream, they take down our stream. What are you going to do? Yes. Quest Fanning shared the show on Twitter. We appreciate that very much. Thank you, Quest. All right, let's go to our buddy Brad Palumbo. He did a nice interview yesterday talking about some of the mask mandates that have returned. Take a listen to this.
The numbers are really statistically insignificant to what we saw during the actual pandemic. But that has not stopped pandemic-era policies from returning. 92 colleges are mandating vaccines for fall enrollment. Brad Palumbo with the Washington Examiner is with us now. Brad, it's good to see you. Thank you. All right, this is a quote from your piece. These mandates aren't rooted in science or public health. They're simply the result of deeply ideological campus administrators wanting to assert their control or signal allegiance to their political tribe, which for private universities, what is the problem with that?
Well, there's two separate questions.
Great question there, actually.
Here. One is a legal question, and I certainly think if private universities want to set ridiculous policies, they're well within their rights to do so. It doesn't stop any of us from pointing out how ridiculous they are. I mean, look, they literally sold Dr. Fauci bobbleheads at one point. So I think the idea that there is an ideology or a program here is pretty self-evident because there's no scientific basis for this. I anti-vaccine whatsoever. I took the COVID vaccine. I even took a booster. But I think that anyone who wants one can take one, and it will protect you from hospitalization or death in many cases. So that should be the end of the discussion. At that point, it's an individualized decision with individual benefits and costs, and people should be free to make their own decisions in consultation with their doctors, not make college students take it just out of conformity or political signaling.
Yeah, for sure. And, there are a certain percentage of young people, and young people are the people who need it the absolute least. Can I get an amen on that for the love of God? It's so stupid. It's a pointless waste of time. Like it's just to make liberals feel better about themselves and to give them this false sense of safety. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I just think that these mandates are redonkulous and we should resist them to the fullest extent of the law and maybe even outside the law, if you will. Jeff Salen over on the YouTube live stream. Good morning, Jeff. Nice to see you. He says, guys, AP's coffee is worth the money. Wife loves it. Now we fancy. Yes. No, once you go black, you don't go back. When you drink my Founding Flavors coffee, black that is. The Founding Flavors coffee is absolutely delicious. It's for people who enjoy coffee. If you're a coffee lover, Founding Flavors coffee is for you. It's not for people who like to drink day-old coffee from Instant Coffee, Maxwell House, or something like that. We are not the cheapest coffee in the market. However, we are cheaper than other premium coffee brands. Stephanie and I do confirm this. If you go online and you find other premium coffee brands, you'll see that they may have it looks initially like they're cheaper, but once you get through the shipping and handling and the taxes and fees, they're actually almost always a little bit more expensive than we are. What you see for the price of the coffee that you buy from AP for Liberty Shop is what you get. So you don't have to worry that at the end of the transaction it's going to cost way more because the shipping is obviously included. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, it's going to be this plus that. If you're a premium coffee drinker and you love coffee, Founding Flavors is for you. My favorite is the Benjamin Franklin's Electric Elixir, but Jeffersonian Java is up there as well. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Adams is excellent, says Tolly Owens. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Jared Pierce calls them masturbators. That's hilarious. Glad to have you here on the Wake Up America show. I love especially seeing all of the new names and faces here. Make sure that if you're watching us, I know a lot of people are lurkers and they don't come out and they don't comment very often. I get that. But do us a favor, drop us a comment today. Make today be the day that you reach out to the Wake Up America show and make friends with us all and introduce yourself. We'd love to know who you are, so we can track you down and make sweet love to you. Just kidding. But we'd love to make friends. That's, of course, what we're all about this morning. So if you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, don't forget to click like and subscribe over on rumble.com this morning. We are trying to get ourselves off of, there we go. We're not worshiping Satan anymore. 667 subscribers over on Rumble. Thank you very much for that. Grant Sunnyman says that on Fox tonight, the Republican primary debate is brought to you by Pfizer. Yes. Very true. Isn't that funny though? Like, and it's interesting too that when you look back into the past of, say, Vivek Ramaswamy, is that he was very much a pharma bro. That's how he made his money. And I saw another interview that someone showed me about his discussion about how he took apparently a scholarship from the Soros Foundation, which, you know, normally is anathema, but the people who are the most triggered about that are usually the Trump supporters who love Vivek Ramaswamy. I mean, nobody really believes in anything that they say anymore. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter what people say. It only matters what they do. So that's why, like, people like Vivek Ramaswamy, I'm always a little skeptical because they talk so sweet. They say the things that we want to hear. I like what they have to say. But again, it's all talk, right? Until you actually do something. And what has Vivek Ramaswamy done to prepare him to be president of the United States? Nothing. No record of public service, not even showed up to vote. People are like, oh, well, I want a businessman in the office. Well, here's the thing. There is a graveyard, a gigantic graveyard of businessmen who have rich, wealthy businessmen who have run for the highest office in the land, who never became president of the United States. And that's certainly going to be the case with Vivek Ramaswamy. And if you're like, well, he could be Donald Trump's VP. Yeah, and then he's not going to be the president anymore because let's face it, Donald Trump is not going to win the presidency of the United States. That doesn't mean that I don't want him to win the presidency of the United States. And I know some of you who are lurking right now who are big Trump fans are listening to me and are like, oh, I'm turning it off and all that kind of stuff. Okay, fine. You know, you can do whatever you want. It's a free country if you will. But nothing has changed since 2020. There's been no, it's not, I would want Donald Trump to win versus Joe Biden, right? If he's a nominee, I'm going to vote for him to win. But you got to understand that Donald Trump doesn't have a strategy to win, and he's going to spend the next year of his life fighting these court cases, which some of them are horse apples and some of them are not. Some of them are justified and some of them are unjustified, right? Depending on what you're talking about here. But at the end of the day, if he's spending all his time trying to fight these legal cases, he's not going to have as much time for campaigning, right? Why wouldn't you just elect someone in the Republican Party, a nominee who doesn't have all the baggage, who doesn't have all the negativity, who doesn't have 65% of the American people already against him? Why wouldn't you just put somebody up that is far less controversial? But I get it. You want to have his revenge. And I know it's very personal to Trump supporters. Like, it's a very, and I get it. I remember I was in a political cult for a long time, and I know what it's like when people like criticize your deity. I get it. I've been there. I absolutely know what it's like to be in the matrix in that sense, right? And when someone attacks your candidate, it's like they're attacking you, and it's an attack on your ego. But trust me, come to the light, Carol Ann. Come to the light, Carol Ann. No, do not go towards the orange man. Or it's fine if you want to vote for him, but for the love of God, it's time to wake up and think for yourself and realize that he's just a man. 'Cause after all, he's just a man. VP Vivek is nice alliteration, though. Yes, you're right. Thank you, Quest. That's very funny. Grant Sonnyman says, especially since he says he's better than DeSantis, he could make Ohio Florida again. Vivek could run for governor of Ohio, says Grant Sonnyman. Yeah, he could. And with the name recognition he's built for himself on this one, I think that would definitely, he would have a better shot at something like that. So, it was a good idea to run for president of the United States, help boost his name ID, and maybe he'll pull a Dr. Oz, if you will. Mr. Newsy says Vivek says all the right things, but his background screams shill. Yeah, see, I'm glad I'm not the only one who gets kind of strange vibes from Vivek Ramaswamy. Take a listen to this. Oh, for the love of God, play the audio. For the love of God, play the audio.
What you may not know is that the first drug that we developed.
Here we go.
As you heard in my introduction, I've founded a biotech company, but what you may not know is that the first drug that we developed was an abysmal failure. It was a drug to treat patients with Alzheimer's disease. The entire pharma industry had tried for decades to develop a drug for Alzheimer's. And so at the ripe age of 28, I decided that I wanted to take my crack at proving everybody wrong and develop a drug that I thought looked promising. It was a promising drug, I thought. It ended up becoming one of the highest profile drugs in all of pharma. I ended up leading what ended up being the largest biotech IPO at the time in 2015 on the basis of that single drug. I was on the cover of Forbes magazine. It was actually pretty controversial. The entire scientific community was debating it. In fact, they were waiting on the edge of their seats to see whether that drug was going to work. And for my part, I thought I was actually, by the age of 30, within striking distance of changing the course of medical history for the better for these millions of patients who suffered from this terrible disease. So in 2017, we finished the trial. We turned over the cards, and it turned out to be a failure. The drug didn't work. And personally, it was devastating for me. I'd done well here at St. X. I'd graduated near the top of my class at Harvard. I'd left a comfortable career as a biotech investor behind to start this company. And then here I was, failing on this scale, more gargantuan than I could have ever imagined. I was supposed to give a speech to my employees to tell them about the results. And as I was practicing in front of my apartment that morning, I ended up breaking down in tears, and I just sat on the bathroom floor for a good half hour before heading into the office. I went from being a daring young rebel to being the guy who took a big risk and failed.
Been there. Done that.
I was panned in the biotech press. My peers and my competitors relished it.
Been there. Done that. Yeah, been there, done that.
But eventually that experience strengthened me. It even gave me a sense of freedom. It taught me that if I was free to fail on a scale that big and still survive it, then I was free to fail on an even bigger scale the next time around and still be fine in the end. And that realization encouraged me to keep taking big risks. And eventually we did get drugs approved. Eventually we did get drugs to patients. The one I'm most proud of is a new FDA-approved drug for prostate cancer. And that little startup I founded in 2014 ended up becoming a multi-billion-dollar company.
Nice.
So that's my first piece of advice to all of you. Be irreverent. Take big risks and fail. It'll be the most rewarding thing that you ever do. It's what allowed me to succeed in my own career. It turns out I didn't learn my lesson. As you heard in my introduction, I've founded a biotech company, but what you may not know is that the first drug that...
Interesting. That's Vivek Ramaswamy right there. All right. Well, when we get back, we're going to talk more about the Republican presidential candidates and Donald Trump not being there. He's sending surrogates to the debate tonight. And don't forget, Steffi and I will have live debate reactions tonight with some special guests who will be joining us 7 p.m. right here. And if streams get pulled down on the other networks, you're going to have to watch it on the We'll be right back with more on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors.
Mao ordered his citizens to throw off the four olds. Old thinking, old culture, old customs, and old habits. So, your whole life went in the garbage overnight, no biggie. And those who resisted were attacked by an army of purifiers called the Red Guard, who went around the country putting dunce caps on people. Yeah, who didn't take to being a new kind of mortal being.
If you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted.
Well, things haven't been so sweet for Ben & Jerry's after the company posted an anti-American tweet, a few of them, on the 4th of July. The ice cream makers declared the United States was founded on stolen indigenous land.
Well, someone should tell Target that, because they're now selling swimsuits with tuckums in the women's section of the store. And they even have a line just for kids.
Yeah, we're going to reach out to Ben & Jerry's and ask them how they can live with themselves as they operate a multi-billion-dollar company on stolen land while declaring other people give up their so-called stolen land.
This is the child section. This is literally the kids section. I'm next to a literal onesie that says whatever the hell that means. We have "Glad you came out" and "I'm so happy that you're queer" in the kids section. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, but pride and toddler don't belong in the same sentence.
Good news! Starbucks will offer its workers reimbursement of travel expenses related to accessing abortion and gender-affirming procedures.
Kyle Rittenhouse was seen wearing a Black Rifle Coffee Company shirt, and they wanted to distance themselves from that individual. Key employees at the company also were donating to Democrats. Hafer doubled down on throwing many in his base under the bus, describing them as racist and a repugnant group of people.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're glad to have you here. Make sure you click like on the channel you're watching us on. Help us to fight back against big tech's social media censorship and spread the message of economic freedom and personal liberty. We'll be super grateful for you for that. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you can get updates whenever we go live. Don't forget, tonight we are going to be doing a live GOP debate reaction. It's the P for Liberty family. Everybody go P for Liberty. Go P for Liberty. I think we need to make like a sign or something like that. Me, a P for Liberty, and the wife, Steffi P for Liberty. We are the P for Liberty family, and we're going to be doing live GOP debate reactions tonight starting at 7 p.m., including some special guests, surprise guests that will be joining us as well. Should be a good time. Well, speaking of the debate, one person who will not be there looms large. A comedian did an impression of Donald Trump to his face last night. Let's take a listen to how that went.
All right, folks, this is something the internet's been waiting for a long time. Let's get your phones out, okay? Mr. President, the people wanted to hear it. They wanted to hear it. You did a fantastic job. And I have to say this. We are going to help you win in a landslide. Worse than Chris Christie after a night at Taco Bell.
That's a pretty good impression, wouldn't you say? Yeah, that was very funny. Yeah, well, there's Donald Trump, and then there's everyone else. I mean, that's been kind of the story of the race for the 2024 GOP presidential nomination. And again, that's what it's going to be all about tonight. 8 Republican hopefuls will try to emerge from the former president's shadow at an event that he doesn't feel the need to attend. What is it that each candidate really needs to accomplish, though, tonight? Ron DeSantis, he's kind of the second highest polling candidate in the race, even though he's way behind Donald Trump. He's expected to take the most arrows tonight. DeSantis has been assigned to the central part of the stage, and apparently he's been preparing for attacks with a veteran debate coach, and he likely has the most to lose tonight. He was seen as the strongest challenger to Donald Trump, and he still might be, but the initial momentum that he has really stalled in recent months, and his campaign has dealt with layoffs, big organizational changes, muddled messages, and a lot of people's confidence in him has been shaken. But a strong debate performance tonight could get his campaign back on track, but a weak one could send his donors and voters searching for another Trump alternative for the party. Now, then, of course, there's Vivek Ramaswamy. He's the wealthy biotech company founder we've been talking about this morning. He's also going to be next to Ron DeSantis in the center of the stage, and he's probably going to have to fend off some attacks for some of his previous political statements. He's been bragging about how little he has done to formally prepare, like showing his tennis skills on social media. He showed his bobs, but now he needs to show his vagine. Ramaswamy says he doesn't partake in briefings or practice sessions and is instead relying on his past interactions with voters. He says every other candidate will have been in primary and general election debates before. He says, it's my hope we spend time on the debate stage not just having virtual signaling contests. He just says that he wants a discussion about U.S. spending on the war in Ukraine, and that's an area where he differs from some of the more hawkish Republicans in the field. That'll be interesting. I'd give it up to Ramaswamy for that, because I absolutely agree that we do need to stop spending money on Ukraine. Steffi says, IP for liberty. Yes. IP, UP, we all pee for liberty. Nelson65's heading off to work this morning. We'll miss you, buddy. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're glad to have you here a little bit this morning. Multiple Trump surrogates plan to attend the Republican primary tonight following President Trump's announcement that he's going to skip the event. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Byron Donalds of Florida, black man, and former gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake will be attending the debate for him tonight. Donald Trump Jr., his son, and Kimberly Guilfoyle are going to be conducting media interviews, and they're also going to promote the former president on their Rumble shows. So you can imagine that we're going to be seeing a lot of pro-Trump media coming out tonight, even though Donald Trump will not be on this stage. And we're going to be talking about, we're going to be hearing a lot from, I imagine, supporters of the other campaigns as well, because they will also have surrogates. There's going to be the spin room. Donald Trump supporters will not be allowed in the spin room after the debate because Donald Trump didn't participate in the debate. So that should be interesting. All right. Who else do we have on the list here that's worthy of mentioning? Chris Christie. He's going to be on the debate tonight. I mean, come on. What is the point of this? So he's obviously the most vocal critic of Donald Trump in the GOP field. I mean, he's a former federal prosecutor. He does have strong debate skills. But without Trump, I mean, Christie's got to point his fire at other people, because if he doesn't, then he's really got nowhere to go. I mean, he's been seen polling a little bit in New Hampshire to some degree, and he does get some independent voters. But nationally, Chris Christie is one of the least popular candidates in the GOP field, and he doesn't have Donald Trump to attack on the stage, right? And I think a lot of people probably rightly deduced that one of the reasons why Donald Trump will not be on the debate stage tonight is because I'm sure his lawyers told him not to go, because they're afraid he's going to incriminate himself with multiple criminal indictments, the charges that have been brought against him. If he says anything about it, then of course it could make those things worse. Kermode Bear says, that's nice. He can send surrogates, but he is still snubbing everyone, and it is lame. I agree. I saw Mike Cernovich yesterday was saying, what does Donald Trump stand to gain from going to his debates? One person explained to me, how does this help Donald Trump? Well, pardon my language, but fuck you. What do you mean? This isn't about Donald Trump. It's about our country. The point of a political debate is so that people can make informed decisions about who they're going to go into the voting booth and practice one of the most important rights that they have in this country, one of the few dwindling rights that they have. And you can say what you want to say about our right to vote and have a long debate, a discussion about that. But it's not about him. Not everything is about him. And that's one of the reasons why, I didn't cry myself to sleep the night that he lost in 2020. Many people who were not leftists or liberals or leftards or social justice warriors or Antifa that breathed a sigh of relief when it was over, because it's exhausting. It's exhausting that this person feels that they have to be the center of our world all the time. The ego and the hubris and the selfishness gets exhausting, right? We can only take so much of it, right? I like the Calvin Coolidges of the presidency. I like a president who minds his own business and leaves us all the hell alone. Okay, fight the left, but we don't have to. The problem is that because he's a celebrity, it's a holdover from his years in commercials and television and real estate and campaigning and being in the New York Post all the time, is that he always has to be the center of our world. Okay, like, you get tired of anybody, no matter how much you love them. At the end, you get tired of it, okay? I just want you to do your job and keep the peace and make America great again, but I don't have to have my entire world be about you. Am I wrong in feeling this way? Does anybody agree with me there? Or are you like, well, I don't care. I don't care. I get to say what I want to say because it's a free country, at least for a few more minutes. I'm just tired of it. I'm just tired of it. Trump has disappointed a lot of his supporters, says JP, and he should want to win their support. No kidding, right? The main constituency that Donald Trump in the last election is that he lost his white male boomer base. They voted for him in fewer numbers, and I think it's because of the immigration thing. But anyways, Kermode Bear says, get your butt up there. If you're so smart and amazing, you should be able to easily prove that. Thank you, Kermode. And Katie556 says she's agreed. Hey, everybody. Good morning, Legalese. Nice to see you, brother. I think you are going to be excited for about 20 minutes from now. Judge Andrew Napolitano is going to be joining us here on the Wake Up America show. I'm still banging the drum of this court case that could overturn key aspects of the New Deal. If you missed my interview yesterday with Tommy Berry of the Cato Institute, I cut the clip. I posted it on my YouTube page. You don't want to miss that. It's like a 15-minute interview that you're going to want to watch after the show today. But I'm going to talk to Judge Andrew Napolitano about this court case that could help us to overturn key aspects of the New Deal. And the decision could come as early as the beginning of next year, which I think that has a lot to do with the deep state, right? So if you're somebody who wants to fight the deep state, this right here, this could neuter the deep state. I'm excited about this, and Judge Napolitano, I'm sure, will be too. He's going to give us a little bit more of a breakdown. Mike Has Bad Knee says, I don't disagree with the sentiment, but it's the media that has him in his face. They have such a love-hate relationship with him. I agree, but remember, he sends out press releases. He's stoking that as well. But, and you're right. The media knows that they make a lot of money talking about him as well, which is why the media wants him to be the candidate. And I also think it's because they think that he's beatable because they've shown they can beat him before. And even if you think the election was stolen, they still beat him because even if he got hoodwinked, I mean, nobody cares. If you lose the election, nobody cares if it was stolen from you. I know you care. Like the hardcore Trump supporters that I'm listening to right now that are actually still listening to the show. First of all, I applaud you for listening to some criticism of your man and not running away. That's brave of you. But remember, even if they're cheating against him, nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. Like it's like at the end of the day, like what's that quote from The Rock? All right, losers always complain about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. Right? No, it doesn't matter if they cheat. Like you think that there's ever been a clean election in American history? Like there hasn't been. You have to win by a percentage to account for the cheating. Even Donald Trump has said that. So you can't whine and complain about cheating and all this stuff. And here's the thing, they're not doing anything to counteract the cheating. There hasn't been a concerted effort to change the laws in these states, at least not one that Donald Trump has backed, because most of the money that's going into the Donald Trump campaign is going to fight his legal challenges instead of making new legal challenges in the many states to fight things that you disagree with, like ballot harvesting and the problems with absentee ballots. You have got to start to play the dirty game that the Democrats have, and if you can't beat them, join them. You got to beat them at their own game, because here's the thing: what the Democrats have done has made these rules legal. They've made their cheating legal, which at that point, it's not really cheating, is it? Right? If you're allowed to use a calculator and the kids in class are all using calculators, they're like, I'm not going to use a calculator. But then all of a sudden they get great grades and you get bad grades. You better start using a mother effing calculator. You better start using it. Right? You better start, because what the left is doing, they're going out to the communist meetings, they're going out to the Antifa meetings, they're going out to the transgender clinics and standing outside and getting petitions and signatures and picking up votes and ballots. And what you need to do, Republicans, is you need to go out to the churches. You need to go out to the Korean churches. You need to go out to the mega churches. You need to somehow get past the armed guards at the Mormon temples out there that they have behind like the armed walls and stuff like that, where hundreds and hundreds of people go in there to worship Mormonism, the Angel Moroni, Joseph Smith, Brigham Young. I don't know where they worship somebody. But anyways, hundreds and hundreds of people. You need to go and get those votes, and you need to bring them back. Okay? You got to play that game. We can't keep losing because we're going to lose our country. I think that we can all agree on that. Am I right? Amen. I've never been a Trump fan, but I would rather there not be cheating. I've also been shocked that the RNC hasn't done anything either to adjust or fight for it. Yes, right. Listen, I agree with you, but the fact is that if you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's the reality, and that's why I was listening to Libertarian Spaces yesterday, and they were complaining about like ballot access, and they were talking like just more infighting and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, you guys have all of the same problems as the major political parties, but without actually without the any of the upsides. Right? Third parties have all the same problems that major political parties do without actually winning any elections. Right? It doesn't make any sense to keep fighting that fight over and over and over again. And you have to sometimes you have to compromise in this world. Sometimes you've got to make a compromise in order for you to be able to start to push your agenda in the right direction. You can't keep playing the same old game each time. The libertarians are playing three-card Monte, right? If you're a Republican and you're a Trump supporter, don't play three-card Monte, right? Or if you are going to play three-card Monte, own the game. Be the dealer. Don't be the player. Don't be a sucker. You've got to own the game. If you know that the game is rigged, then you've got to rig the game. That's just reality. And the princes of this world who have read their Machiavelli and those who understand the art of war will play the game and do what it needs to be done in order to be able to save our country and save our republic. Because at the end of the day, I don't care about the means of how we get to freedom or liberty. I care how we get there. And let me explain to you why that's so important. Why the ends do justify the means when it comes to liberty. Because here's a perfect example of this. Now, we're going to get into big brain time, and Judge Napolitano isn't here just yet, but listen to me. Go with me on this. Libertarians, we like decentralization, right? We like the idea of federalism. We want the states to have a little bit more power than the federal government. We'd like to see a devolving of power away from the federal government to the states, right? But what matters more than federalism? What's more important than, and I don't like to use this concept states' rights, but you know what I mean, right? So when I say this, right? But what's more important than that? Individual rights, right? In the rights of the individual. So this is something Judge Napolitano and I have even hashed out before in discussions, right? So when we talk about something like what happens when the states are taking away individual rights? Well, if the federal government steps in and overrules the states, let's say that the state of, like for example, the state of New York. State of New York keeps passing rules to limit the Second Amendment rights of its citizens. So what does the Supreme Court do? Well, the Supreme Court steps in and overrules their laws because individual rights trump the state's rights to take away people's individual liberty, right? For example, so if Missouri wanted to set up Southern Baptists as the official religion of the state of Missouri, the federal government would step in and say, no, you cannot have an establishment of religion. Now, here's where this all ties in and why this is important. Ends justifying the means. Because the end is more individual liberty. The means is the federal government or the state government. It's about a strategy for liberty, right? So the idea is that I support more decentralization and more power to the states versus the federal government when the outcome is more liberty. I support the federal government using its enumerated powers, its proper enumerated powers that are granted to it in the Constitution, to overrule the state when the state is limiting our individual rights. So does this make sense? And I don't know if I'm explaining this perfectly. Maybe I'll have Judge Napolitano explain it to a better degree when he comes in here in a few minutes. The point here is that the ends do justify the means when the ends are individual liberty, meaning that it's time for us to fight back. We are in a war for our freedom. We're in a war for our not only our freedom of thought, our freedom of speech, our right to bear arms, probably to have people cordoned in our houses at some time, soldiers in our houses at some point, right? If they keep coming up with these mandates, mask mandates and vaccine mandates, if they keep pushing us on this stuff, right to fair and speedy trial. The point is that we'll support decentralization and power to the states when the outcome is individual liberty, right? When the states are fighting back against the feds, and it's typically the feds that are the pushers of big government and going against our individual rights more than the states. But that doesn't mean that the states can't also take away our civil liberties. They absolutely can take away our civil liberties. And that's when it is the proper role of the federal government to step in and overrule that state, like New York with guns, for example, the Supreme Court, the strategy for liberty. So I support I'm going to say states' rights, but it's not exactly what I mean. I'm just doing an approximation here. I support states' rights when the outcome is individual liberty. I support the federal government intervening when the outcome is individual liberty. And essentially what we're talking about here is judicial activism, right? If you're a conservative constitutional originalist, then judicial activism is the bane of your existence, and you're opposed to it, and we cannot have judicial activism, et cetera, et cetera. Throw it out the window. This is why conservatives have conserved nothing. This is why when I said conservatives, what if conservatives conserved? Somebody's like, our gun rights or all that kind of stuff. Dude, it's the libertarians on the Supreme Court. Justice Neil Gorsuch is the best Supreme Court justice. What are you talking about, dude? It was Senator Rand Paul was the best senator during COVID-19, fighting against Anthony COVID's tyranny. It was the Republicans like Donald Trump and others who were watching to make amends for Anthony Fauci and pushing Operation Warp Speed. It was always the libertarian Republicans throughout history who were fighting for your rights and who will maintain to fight for your rights. And here we are, the eggheads, the nerds, doing what we can to try and prevent our country from being taken over by progressive Democrats and progressive Republicans. Yes, there are progressive Republicans, ladies and gentlemen, and do we even know what the definition of progressive means? Most people don't even know what they mean. They think it means a person with purple hair, but that's not actually the definition. One that is progressive, one that believes in moderate political change. Progressivism, let me find the definition here before we do this. Progressivism holds that it is possible to improve human societies through political action. As a political movement, progressivism seeks to advance the human condition through social reform based on advancements in science, technology, economic development, and social organization. In other words, what progressives mean is they mean to improve upon humanity, and to do so according to scientific principles. So the idea is progressivism usually gets associated with social liberalism, but that is not true. Progressivism means that you are willing to use the power of government to force people to change and behave according to what is the science. Okay, so plenty of Republicans meet that definition of a progressive. Plenty of Democrats do as well, right? Progressivism is this idea that we can change humans into some more perfect humans, right? And eugenics arises out of this. Tax policy arises out of this, right? Bigger government tariffs are a perfect example of progressivism. If you're in favor of tariffs, then you have progressive economic attitudes, which is that we're going to change society in the United States and force people to buy goods. If they're going to buy goods at a sharply inflated price in order to try and stimulate economic activity and industrial activity here in the United States. Of course, we all know that economic policy doesn't work. Or call it what you will, economic nationalism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Listen, I'm going on a rant. I probably need to just take it easy, Austin. Okay, just chill out. Okay. Freaking out. My brother Justin Peterson is here. He says Hegelians, yes. And it's also nice to see 50 people watching us over on YouTube this morning. Good morning, YouTubers. What you doing? 34 watching us over on Rumble. You got it, people. What's up? Make sure you click like on the channel if you're watching us this morning, enjoying the content. Subscribe as well. We'd love to hear from you on what you like about the content. You can text us today on the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Somebody says the videos you're playing are a lot louder than your voice audio. Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate that. How about this? How about if I crank it up there just like that? Hold on. There we go. Turn that down. Hopefully that will match a little bit better. We'll see what you guys think. So let me know if the audio on my microphone is okay. Somebody says, amazing beta. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. Let us know what's going on in your head. The Wake Up America show is brought to you in part by our friends over at Lear Capital. And our friends at Lear Capital would like you to know that they've got a $250 account credit waiting for you right now. If you're interested in buying gold and silver, and I know you are, then now's the time to head over to Lear Capital at learaustin.com. LEARAUSTIN.com. You get a $250 account credit. Get that account credit today, $250 in your account to get started to buy some gold and silver from our friends at Lear Capital. If you want that $250 account credit, make sure you call the number 1-800-885-2175. That's 1-800-885-2175. Hit that phone number right there, or call that phone number today and tell them you want that $250 account credit, or visit learaustin.com. That's LEARAUSTIN.com. Thanks so much to Cheeky Mare, by the way, for dropping that link. You are amazing. Amazing. Not a beta. I'll do it over here on Rumble as well. All right, when we get back, we're going to speak to Judge Andrew Napolitano about all this stuff and more. We're going to talk to the judge about progressivism. We're going to talk to him about socialism. We're going to talk to him about that Supreme Court case that could overturn the New Deal. God, it's all right, we'll be back with more on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
And I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy Bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake. Yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes. You like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bullshit. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bullshit blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're glad to have you here. Make sure you click like on the channel. Help us fight back against big tech's censorship of our ideas and push back against those censors by clicking that like button to help us to fight the algorithm. We'll be super grateful for that. And of course, if you're not subscribed to the channel that you're watching us on this morning and you do enjoy the content, then subscribe to that channel and you can get updates whenever we go live. We've got a very special live debate reaction show happening tonight at 7 p.m. Central. So whichever network you're watching us on this morning, make sure you tune in tonight at 7 p.m. Central. We'll start an hour before the debate. My lovely wife, Stephanie P. for Liberty, will be joining us, and we're going to have some special surprise guests as well. So if you want to be included in the debate coverage tonight and get our live reactions to that, then make sure you tune in tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. All right. Well, I think the judge would have really appreciated that rant that I gave during the last hour, an explanation of what progressivism really is. A lot of people think progressive just means somebody who's, in favor of LGBT or something like that. But as we've learned, you could easily be a progressive Republican just as much as you could be a progressive Democrat. And you don't think that massive government-changing programs like the New Deal got passed with only progressive Democrats, do you? No. There were plenty of Republicans who were progressives at the turn of the 20th century that gave us this massive government that we have today. But now, thanks to Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch, some of that may be getting ready to turn the tide. Joining us now to discuss is everybody's favorite, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Good morning, Judge. Glad to have you here on the show today.
Good morning, Austin. It's a pleasure to be with you. I did not hear your rant, but I have an idea what you said, and the summary you gave of it is spot on. One of my books is called Theodore and Woodrow, How Two American Presidents Destroyed Constitutional Government and Individual Liberty. And Theodore Roosevelt, one of the worst presidents in American history, not the worst, was as much responsible for the electoral triumph of the progressives in the progressive era as was Woodrow Wilson. Unfortunately, there's a legacy of Theodore Roosevelt deep and wide and broad in the Republican Party today.
Absolutely it is, Judge. And I would like to have a discussion with you about progressivism as well as strategies for liberty towards the end of this segment. But I'd like to talk about something that's quite exciting and that, Judge, we are really leading the conservative and libertarian movement on, because very few people are talking about an exciting Supreme Court case, which, if it is decided, could overturn decades of big government bureaucracies and the deep state. And it also includes an interesting personal note where Justice Neil Gorsuch may be prepared to get revenge for what happened to his mother, who was the head of the EPA under Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. This is a fascinating case, and it has a fascinating tie-in to our favorite Supreme Court justice. Judge, what's your take on it?
Well, I am critical of the notion that a Supreme Court justice would be ruling in a manner because of personal interests or personal experiences. It is just a bizarre coincidence that the EPA, which was once headed by his mother, who had marching orders from Ronald Reagan basically to shut it down or dial it back, severely abused his mother, as did the DOJ, accusing her of criminal malfeasance by her dialing back the EPA. I would like to think, and I do think, Justice Gorsuch's views on the administrative state are born from a serious study of the Constitution and not from memories of his mother's unfortunate experiences. But Justice Gorsuch, as a lawyer and as an appeals court judge, and now as a Supreme Court justice, has led the charge against the existence of the fourth branch of government, which is the administrative state, which is alien to the Constitution. It's neither fish nor fowl. It's all three branches in one. It writes its own rules, it interprets its own rules, it enforces its own rules, and the courts have given it deference. So much so that the phrase Chevron deference, deriving from a case involving Chevron oil, stands for the proposition that when an administrative agency, the Food and Drug Administration, the Centers for Disease Control, the Environmental Protection Administration, when any of those three lettered entities interprets its own rules, the courts give deference to that and do not second guess it and do not permit litigation about it. This goes back to Theodore Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson, who believed that the best government was a government by experts. And so we would hire experts to tell us how to live. And members of Congress don't have that expertise. So members of Congress would delegate away some of the authority the Constitution gave to the Congress to these administrative agencies, and the courts would defer to those administrative agencies. That is all poppycock created by progressives in the Congress, in the White House, and in the judicial branch. Justice Gorsuch is prepared to lead the charge along with the other non-progressives on the court to undo that. And if that is undone, the fourth branch of government will be seriously diminished. If Congress wants to regulate mud puddles, or if Congress wants to regulate the number of fish you can take from the sea, 2 real cases, then Congress can do it. It can't delegate away its authority to some entity not even recognized in the Constitution. The late Justice Scalia used to argue delegated powers, delegated from the Constitution to Congress, cannot be delegated away. They can only be used or not used. They can't be given to another entity without a constitutional amendment.
It is a fascinating problem, of course, Judge, because I mean, you know what kind of doofuses people send to Congress these days, and you know, and when you think about it, even though they are elected to do this job, we're not talking about environmental engineers quite frequently, right? So they hire those people and then delegate their authority to them through those bureaucracies. It sounds good, but in practice, it has given us these massive bureaucracies that have regulated everything down to the size of shoe leather in our shoes, as you like to say.
Correct.
But in this case, Judge, this specific case that is being brought to the court, it is about a fishing company which is being required by the government not only to have a government regulator on the boat, demanding that they catch only a certain number of fish and that those fish be of a certain size or weight, but also they have to pay for the benefit of having that regulator on their boat. And the payment specifically is what's at stake here. The question of not only can the government regulate you, which I'm sure the government will say, yes, that's necessary and proper, but whether or not you have to be charged in order to do so. But then if they don't charge the person for doing so, they're still going to have the regulator on board, and they're just going to socialize the cost of that to the rest of us, aren't they, Judge?
Unfortunately, you're right. I mean, in one respect, it is more libertarian to have a fee for service than to spread the cost or to everybody else. But the effect of this Gorsuch-led ruling that we all anticipate, but the case hasn't even been argued yet. It's going to be argued in October, a decision by Christmas. The effect of the decision will be to diminish radically the power of these administrative agencies by removing Chevron deference, by saying to federal courts, you should not presume that the administrative agency is correct, and the challenger can litigate the correctness of their ruling. This ruling, of course, has nothing to do with scientific expertise. This just has to do with money. We're going to put this guy on your boat. Well, that's an invasion of a property. You own the boat. You have the right to exclude whoever you want from the boat, including the government. So the government is forcing its way illegally and unconstitutionally onto your property. The government is intruding illegally and unconstitutionally into your actual work by stopping you from working to count and to measure and weigh the fish that you bring in. And then you have to pay the government for doing this. This almost sounds like the old Soviet Union. I don't even know if they do this in Russia today under Vladimir Putin's Russia. This will be dialed back so radically that it won't happen again, because the challenges to it will prevail. One of the reasons the administrative state grew the way it did is not only because Congress is gutless and wants other people to make decisions for it, but because of Chevron deference, which once it's gone, once the EPA walks into court as an equal to to the plaintiffs that are challenging it, rather than with the judicial thumb on the scale favoring the EPA, you'll see a lot less aggressive behavior, a lot more trimming of the sails on the part of the administrative agencies.
So, Judge, this is a real threat to the deep state.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I once had a conversation with Justice Scalia about the Supreme Court cases we'd most like to get rid of. There's a number of them that I can go through if you want, but Chevron is clearly one of them. This is a serious threat to the deep state because this does not only apply to the EPA. This applies to intelligence and law enforcement as well. And it applies to all those parts of the government that never change, no matter who's in the White House and which party is controlling Congress. Suddenly they won't have the judicial deference that Chevron required of them. And when they are challenged in court, they will walk into court equal to the challenger. In my view, they are not equal to the challenger. In my view, they are far less than the challenger because government by its nature is a negation of liberty. So the presumption should be in favor of liberty and against the government at every turn, in every courtroom, in every case where the government is a party.
That's of course, we cannot disagree with Judge Napolitano, so we will not. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're grateful to have you here. Make sure you click that like button, help us fight back against big tech censorship and help spread the message of economic freedom and personal liberty. And of course, if you like the content that you're hearing this morning, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. The judge is also the host of his own podcast, a raging runaway hit, the Judging Freedom podcast, which you can download on any of your mobile devices. I highly recommend you do it. And of course, read his weekly column at judgenap.com. One last thing on this one, Judge, just on a personal note, this Supreme Court case, it appears as if this could pass because of the Supreme Court being mostly, man-staffed by conservatives at the moment. But of course, that could change if the next president of the United States continues to be Joe Biden. And I want to talk to you about the Republican race and the debates tonight in just a moment. But are you excited personally about this case as much as I am, Judge? I think nobody's talking about it, but it's huge.
It is. When I was being interviewed for the Supreme Court of the United States by then President-elect Trump, and I told him that his guy was probably not me and ought to be then Judge Neil Gorsuch, I explained to him the regulatory structures in the administrative state, and he got excited about the fact that it can go away. Not all Republicans are excited about the administrative state going away. I mean, Senator Josh Hawley, sorry to use his name on your show, is a Theodore Roosevelt Republican who loves all this stuff. And unfortunately, there are many, many other Republicans who love it as well. However, I do believe that the traditionally conservative nominees on the court, currently on the court, will join the one unabashed libertarian, Justice Gorsuch, to begin the dismantling of the administrative state. Again, conservatives don't always do that, but the answer to your question is this time, I think they will.
I spoke to Tommy Berry of the Cato Institute yesterday, one of their legal scholars, and he was explaining that 30 years ago, the Chevron deference was seen as something as good for conservatives because when conservatives controlled the government, it worked in their favor since they were the heads of the bureaucracies. So of course, you're right that it is something that conservatives love the power as just as much as the Democrats or the socialist left does when they control the government. But Judge. Not Scalia, I'm trying to remember the name. Clarence Thomas and Alito are both of advanced age. We men, unfortunately, do not live as long as our female counterparts.
Now, why am I laughing? Because Sam Alito and I are exactly to the month the same age.
Well, we all remember what happened with Ruth Bader Ginsburg and how much that hamstrung the left, and how her selfish actions of not stepping down at the time in order to have someone else renominated is what has tipped the Supreme Court in our favor, Judge. So these are
Right.
political realities that we have to deal with, and the enfeebleness
Right.
of our bodies. But because of that, we have to make a consideration for the next president of the United States and who that might be. And we find ourselves in a bit of a pickle, Judge, where Donald Trump is the leading contender for the Republican nomination. He's refusing to debate tonight. Maybe that's for, because he's leading so much he doesn't care, or also because his lawyers might fear that he would incriminate himself with the multiple criminal indictments. But we're in big trouble right now, Judge. We always laugh as libertarians. This is the most important election of our lifetime that they try and scam us with every 4 years. But if we lose the Supreme Court, Judge, we've lost everything. There's nothing else. There's no other bulwark against tyranny holding back the deep state and progressivism than the Supreme Court right now, Judge. Is it possible that this might be the most important election of our lifetime?
Well, I don't know that. I mean, Clarence Thomas is 78, Sam Alito is 73. They could each serve for another 4 or 5 years, depending upon what happens in this election. I'm very good friends with Justice Alito. I have not discussed with him. We haven't had a personal conversation in about a year and a half, but I have not discussed with him how he feels about longevity on the court. But you are right. At the present time, with the War Party and the Welfare Party and the National Security Party controlling Congress, that's about 90% of the Republicans and about 90% of the Democrats. The Supreme Court is the only bulwark we have to uphold the Bill of Rights. So if Joe Biden is reelected, or if some other Democrat is elected, or even if almost any one of the Republicans is elected, expect a big government nominee. I mean, there are some Republicans who I'm not so sure their election would give Sam Alito or Clarence Thomas comfort in retiring, because they're not going to put someone to replace them who thinks the way they do. The person will have an R after their name, but after the R will be all kinds of gibberish and nonsense unprinted, maybe even unprintable, showing their loyalties to the concept that the Constitution doesn't mean what it says and big government is here to stay.
Judge, progressivism. I was explaining it to people earlier, because most people, when they think progressive, they think a leftist or someone who is, socially liberal. But the ideas of progressivism are not tied to a party or to necessarily our social views. Progressivism defined means that you are willing to use government to try and change human behavior and order society according to scientific principles. That's the dictionary definition of progressivism. Therefore, the idea that you are a progressive, you could be a Republican or you could be a Democrat, as you wrote in your book, Theodore and Woodrow. But this is how government has grown, hasn't it? Because both parties essentially believe that they can use tax policy, welfare policy, foreign policy as ways to remake us into better humans, which at the end of the day really means that they're all simply Marxists. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're right on the mark. I mean, what you have said is an intellectual analysis of my using the handle of warfare, welfare, national security. They all believe in bowing to war, in bowing to wealth transfer, in bowing to national security, the Constitution, individual rights, natural rights, be damned. When I say they all, there are some people on the left who are with us on civil liberties, and there are in the Congress, and there are a few people on the right who reject the welfare, warfare, national security state, big government party. but they are very, very few. There's no more than 2 or 3 dozen of these people of the 535 in Congress, and they're all marginalized. When Ron Paul was there, he managed at least to articulate these views in a way that got under the skin of his fellow Republicans and forced them to answer him. The current crop of libertarians, though they're my friends and I love them, are not as outspoken, as steadfast, or I'm sorry to say this, as true north, phrase that you and I used to use to describe you when we worked together, as true north as Ron Paul was, or at age 88 still is.
Judge, one last thing, and then I want to give you a chance to preview your Judging Freedom show before we let you go. Strategies for liberty, something that I struggle with, right? Because Karl Marx, I think, or maybe it was Vladimir Lenin, one of them, I've been studying, my Marxism these days in order to effectively argue against it. He talked about this idea that the ends justify the means. If you want to make an omelet, you've got to break a few eggs, right? And he was referring to this in the discussion of people, right? That, some people are going to have to die in order for us to bring about the revolution of the proletariat. Now, this is an idea like we tend to reject. We talk about this idea that the ends don't justify the means. But you and I have had this conversation before about the idea of strategies for liberty and the idea that there's not a fixed strategy for liberty. We talk about this concept of federalism, or some people call it states' rights, right? That we devolve the power of the federal government back to the states. But even you and I have had conversations where you agree with me that when the state of New York tries to take away the individual rights of gun owners in its state, it is proper and lawful, an enumerated power of the government to step in, the federal government, and overturn the states from being able to take away the individual rights of its citizens. So in that sense, we're not a pure federalist, right? In that sense, we're saying that yes, it's right for the government to step in and to end Jim Crow in the southern states. It's right for the Supreme Court, the federal government, to step in and overrule the power of the states to do something like establish a religion. And of course, we don't have to have a long discussion about the incorporation doctrine, but I think you know what I'm saying here. So, but in that sense, then, if that means that you and I believe in at least some sense of judicial activism, that means that we're rejecting the idea of originalism. It means that we believe to some extent that if the ends are liberty, then the means are less important. Am I correct in saying so, Judge? And to be conflicted about this?
Yes, you are correct in saying that. I mean, the end is the retention of the natural rights with which we are born, and the means to protect those natural rights can range from persuasion to violence, because we're talking about the natural rights of human beings that come from our humanity, whether you believe we are the creatures of an all-knowing, all-loving God who shared his nature of freedom with us, or whether we are just the highest rational beings that have developed on Earth at this moment in history. In either case, theistic or non-theistic, you can accept the idea that our rights come from our humanity, and government is nothing but the negation of those rights. And everything government does, whether local, state, or federal, that negates human liberty needs to be interfered with. And it can be interfered with by a variety of means. If it's interfered with by a means that the government claims is illegal, well, then you're going to take the chance of losing your liberty unless you wage a revolution that ousts the government. Thank you, Thomas Jefferson.
See, this is such a challenge then, Judge, then for the strategies of liberty, because then to some extent the ends do justify the means. But then if we as individuals take up those means in our own hands and our own power, then to some extent we're justifying, breaking a few eggs, right? It's kind of like if we're the revolutionaries, I'm sure, warfare in the 1700s isn't the same as today. Far fewer civilians died back in the day. But some civilians did die and probably were killed by the revolutionary patriots. They were collateral damage in the war for individual liberty to establish our country and to win our independence from Britain. In that sense, we made an omelet, but we had to break a few eggs. It's a tragedy, Judge, but the ends justified the means, did they not?
Yes. Yes. Because the end was a far freer society. Unfortunately, it didn't remain free very long because of the nature of human beings and because of the nature of democracy, the god that failed. As soon as people learned that they could vote themselves wealth, as soon as the government recognized it could stay in power by bribing the rich with bailouts and the poor with tax and the middle class with tax cuts and the poor with wealth transfers, that's what happened. And the government just became bigger and bigger and bribed more and more. That's an inherent defect in democracy. Jefferson's remedy was a revolution every 19 years. Now, the revolution needn't be bloody. The Constitution can sunset. The criminal laws can sunset. The government would have to start from scratch and be reelected and go through the debates of reenacting these 5,500 criminal laws that we have, from how many fish you can capture in the sea to the color of red on your T-shirt. All of this is regulated by the government. Madison would never have consented to it, though Madison is part of the problem, because by the end of his second term, big government was on the march.
Judge,
Madison's
I wish we could talk about this for I wish we could talk about this for hours, Judge, because I find it so endlessly fascinating, and the conversations that you and I have are like no other and don't exist anywhere else. Judge, please give us a preview of your excellent show, Judging Freedom, who you have coming up.
So I have Matthew Hoh, H-O-H, on at 11 today. He's a Marine Corps veteran and former State Department official who's become a fan favorite of ours. Why is it that the Ukraine military is losing so badly? Answer: they have NATO telling them what to do. That's at 11 o'clock Eastern. At 3:30 Eastern, Phil Giraldi, the former CIA agent who, when he told George W. Bush Saddam Hussein has no weapons of mass destruction, Bush threw him out of the Oval Office and Giraldi resigned from the CIA. Another fan favorite of mine. Both will be on today. Scott Ritter on Thursday afternoon.
Of course, your excellent column at judgenap.com comes out every Thursday. Is that correct, Judge?
Yes. Torture comes home to roost. How the government is losing 2 cases in Guantanamo Bay because of George W. Bush, Dick Cheney instigated torture of the defendants, none of which was necessary and none of which was fruitful.
We have humongous applause going on right now in the live stream for Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, we appreciate you very much, and we look forward to these every week, and we'll see you next Wednesday at this time.
Thank you, Austin. All the best to you.
Thank you very much. What do you think of Judge Andrew Napolitano? Good stuff. All right, coming up next, Adam Coleman. His son's biracial. He says people shouldn't have to choose one race or another. Black, white, it don't matter if you're black or white. Talk about that with Adam Coleman when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great. Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're glad to have you here. Make sure you click that like button. Help us fight back against big tech's censorship policies, against shows like these that aim to bring you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Economic freedom and personal liberty is what I'm all about, so much that they call me AP for Liberty. My lovely wife, Steffi P for Liberty. Everybody P for Liberty. will be joining us tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time for live reactions to the GOP presidential debates. You don't want to miss that, so make sure you tune in here tonight at 7 p.m. They might take down our stream on all the other social networks, but I'm pretty sure Rumble isn't going to do that. We have no idea. There's a lot of discussion about how streams aren't allowed to play any more than 3 minutes of the show while it's happening at the same time. There might be a lawsuit about it to try and stop that. I don't know. We're just going to have a fun show tonight anyway, so just watch the debate on one TV and then watch our reactions to it on the other while you're watching it on the other screen. So it's going to be a 2-screen kind of an evening. All right, we've got another great guest for you today. If you enjoyed Judge Andrew Napolitano, you make sure you subscribe to that channel. My next guest who's joining me here right now is someone who wrote an excellent piece over at NewYorkPost.com telling the story of a woman named Sage Steele. She's a former ESPN Sports Center anchor. She went on the Megyn Kelly show after she won this free speech lawsuit for a that she had with the network about some of her comments about being biracial. So it started where she was talking about an interaction that she had with Barbara Walters when she was a guest on The View back in 2014. Barbara Walters was upset that Sage Steele referred to herself as biracial instead of just black, like President Obama does. ESPN took her off the air when she talked about that experience back in 2021, and frankly, she also didn't want to get the vaccine as well. So there's a lot going on here. Adam Coleman is breaking it down for us, and he's joining us right now. The president of Ain't Blackistan. Good morning, Adam. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
All right. This is quite an interesting story, and it's got many different facets. So I set it up the best I could for us. Was there anything that I left out, Adam?
No, that was a pretty good, straightforward setup, actually.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room, if you will. I mean, you know, you're a black man, but you have a son who is biracial, and I imagine that there's a lot of pressure for them to identify as one color or another. Talk us through this.
You know, it's interesting because I know that's the situation for a lot of people who are biracial. My son is a little bit different because if that was what he experienced, he never expressed that to me. I think it may have shown itself in different ways rather than people being overt with him to choose. But I've talked to him about race as he was growing up, just asking him, you know, how he sees things when it was age appropriate. But there was one particular conversation I had with him. I asked him, because his name is Daniel, I asked him, you know, what do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as black? Do you see yourself as white? He said, I just see myself as Daniel. And so from that moment, like, I never tried to press him to give me any sort of answer. That was his way of saying that he just wants to be himself. He doesn't want to have to choose one side that he cares about equally. He's around his black family, he's around his white family, but it was never, I'm going to my black family, I'm going to my white family. It's, I have cousins here that love me. And you know, he has family that cares about him and doesn't really care that he's biracial.
Adam, talk to us about this Sage Steele, because obviously there's a lot of controversy swirling around her for comments that she made about being biracial compared to Barack Obama, who identifies as black. What happened with this Barbara Walters interview?
You know, I didn't see the episode itself to kind of go back, but much of what she was talking about happened afterwards as well. But basically, Barbara Walters is not the only one who feels this particular way. And it's not just white progressives that feel this way. It comes from other black people as well. Like Sage Steele was saying in her interview with Megyn Kelly, this is a particular dynamic that exists, and it's multiracial, that feels much like what I was saying in the article, that the one drop rule should be alive socially. So, you know, and for people who don't know what the one drop rule is, it's basically if you have one drop of black blood, you are black. That's basically the concept of it. It was a, you know, part of a legal practice way back when, but socially we still believe in this. So, and I just made the example of Barack Obama identified as white. People would think that's ridiculous. Well, why is that ridiculous? And the other one isn't. And it's because we socially believe that one drop rule should be alive.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here. Make sure you click like and subscribe to the channel that you're watching us on. The Wake Up America show is live every Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central, and you don't get great interviews like this in the mornings live anywhere else. I'm speaking to Adam Coleman. He's a writer with the New York Post as well as many other conservative publications, and he's the founder of Wrong Speak Publications. He's a columnist, of course, at Human Events as well, and he's talking to us about a piece that he wrote today in the New York Post titled "Sage Steele is Right. Biracial people shouldn't have to just check one box." Now, you know, affirmative action in some certain ways has been overturned, but there is a bit of an advantage, if you will, if you're biracial, to check the minority box. Is there not, Adam?
Yeah, I can see that in certain aspects there are. And even just socially, there are certain aspects where you can check it when it benefits you. But I never got the feeling, and I actually talked to Sage behind the scenes. And I let her know that I was going to write this, but I never got the feeling from her or other members of their family that they wanted to play that particular game. And that, I think that's where much of the backlash comes, is that she always wanted to acknowledge both sides of her. And it's unfortunate that it is a situation where people have to choose, and she didn't want to choose, just one. She wanted to acknowledge her entire self. And if we as Americans go by racial lines, then she's somewhere in the middle. She blurs the lines, but she wants to acknowledge both parts of her. So I never took her as being one of these people who wanted to get some sort of social credit. Because these days, in many instances, you can get more social credit by just picking one side, identifying as Black, and she'd have less problems. She'd still be on ESPN, and they'd hold her up as being some sort of hero, and receive awards and so on.
Why do you think that they're resentful that she's proud of her partially white heritage? It implied there, Adam, is that you should almost be ashamed of a white heritage.
Well, our media is ideologically captured by progressive elitists, and this is part of their dogma. Their dogma is perceived oppression. And if you have Black blood, or one drop of Black blood, that is one drop of perceived oppression, and they get to hold you up as being some sort of hero who is trying to overcome the obstacles of a white supremacist society, and so on and so forth. So yeah, there's always pushback against people who refuse to be victims in American society, when the people who are in charge are progressive elitists. Same thing with me. If I say, actually, I'm not oppressed, I'm not a victim, and I'm Black, they would call me Uncle Tom McCoon, and so on and so forth. So it's not just biracial. It's anybody who refuses to be a victim, who is part of a supposed marginal class that progressive elitists want to put you in. As soon as you push back against their narrative, then that's when they come after you.
You say that you raise your son to embrace being a Black sheep because being a man of good character matters more than pleasing the perspectives of strangers, but he is set up for some challenges, isn't he?
Yeah, everybody is. Everybody has a challenge. Everybody has a struggle. And listen, racial animosity is not the only animosity people will face. We face all different types of obstacles. And what I'm trying to have my son understand is, be true to yourself. You're going to face problems. He may go to another country and have a different dynamic there, and he's going to face obstacles. But obstacles are just that. It doesn't matter if it's racial or not. And so what I'm trying to do is raise a son who won't give up, who will do things in spite of. And if it becomes some sort of racial obstacle, well, you know what? Treat it like every other obstacle. Keep moving forward and keep growing, because the people who hate you, that's their problem, not yours.
Such a positive message. Adam, a lot of people over on the live stream this morning are offering congratulations on your weight loss journey. That's been very exciting for you, hasn't it?
Yes, I'm somewhere between, and I'm like at a weird point right now, but I'm somewhere between like 56, I would say about 56 pounds lost since April. And this is the shirt I'm wearing here is a new shirt. I'm down, I went from an extra large to a large, from a 38 waist, like a tight 38 waist, down to a 34 comfortably. And I'm feeling good. And next week I'm taking vacation off to Italy and Greece. And I think that's a great way to celebrate.
It certainly is. Adam, you're a very inspiring person, and we appreciate reading your columns over there at the New York Post. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today before we let you go?
Just let people know that Wrong Speak is into journalism now. We have news articles coming through. We just signed another journalist to the fold who will give some, in-depth foreign affairs type of stuff. So we're not trying to chase clicks or do clickbaity stuff or just talk about one topic. It's a wide variety, deep dive kind of thing. And if people are curious, definitely check it out, wrongspeak.substack.com, and let us know what you think.
And follow them, of course, over on x.com at wrongspeak. Adam, thanks for getting up so early and joining us this morning. Keep up the good work out there. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What do you think of Adam Coleman? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Here's a perfect segue from that segment to the next. Take a listen.
Black Lives Matter or White Lives Matter?
I mean, I gotta go Black Lives Matter.
Why Black Lives Matter?
Why? I don't think White Lives Matter. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna be a person who's gonna go around saying White Lives Matter. Like, I think that sounds a little not good.
So give me like a little bit more details, like why Black Lives Matter.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the whole like controversy around it, I'm not like a huge fan of people who like are with the like all lives matter thing. I think it's just I think it's just doing too much a little bit.
Are you saying Black Lives Matter because of 2020 or just in general?
No, just in general. I mean, I feel like it's been a thing for more like longer than 2020. Like, it was a thing before that.
Oh, okay. All right, bad. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Shout out. Black Lives.
Cringe.
No! God, please, no! No!
Not good. I had a million other clips. Oh, but yeah, I didn't get through all my news stories. Defensive gun use. Newly released surveillance video shows somebody from, it says Cass County, but it's not Cass County. This is Cass County, where I live in Missouri. But this is someone who used their gun to stop an armed robber. 7 shots at a suspected armed robber while he's holding a 6-pack of beer. I kid you not. Beer-toting customer shoots robbery suspect. You'll love to see it. Let's watch.
Surveillance video showing a Cass County gas station customer firing 7 shots at a suspected armed robber, all while holding a 6-pack of light beer.
The shooting seriously injured the suspect, who had armed himself with a box cutter.
Now, the customer waiting to learn if he'll face criminal charges. Target 8 investigator Ken Kolker has those
charges.
details.
They didn't file
all new at
charges.
6.
You know why I'm here is how the robber announced himself at the Stone Lake Marathon here in Cassopolis about 3 weeks ago.
Cassopolis.
The video shows the customer holding a 6-pack of Miller Lite as the suspect dressed in black
it wasn't Bud Light,
bursts in
right?
on July 27th. The suspect, identified as a 35-year-old Dowagiac man, pulls a mask over his face. Another angle shows the suspect approaching the store clerk. Police say he threatened the clerk with a box cutter. The customer, who has a valid concealed carry permit, told police he could not see what was in the robber's hand, but he could see the look of fear in the clerk's face. Video shows the customer pulling a handgun and firing 3 shots.
God bless
then
America.
another 3, all while holding that 6-pack. It appears one of those shots hit a liquor bottle. He fired the final shot several seconds later. Bullets struck the robber in the arm, the back, and the face. The customer told police the suspect fell to the floor but was crawling toward him. He held him at gunpoint until police got there. Cass County Prosecutor Victor Fitz says he's waiting for police to finish the investigation before deciding whether to file criminal charges against the customer. Obviously, there are some people who would consider the shooter a hero.
Well, in Michigan, obviously, it's clear that we do have defense of others as part of the law in Michigan, that you can defend others if they're in a situation where there's dangerous force being used against them. And certainly in this case, we'll be looking at the facts in regard to that.
Target 8 reached out to the man who fired those shots, who lives about 4 blocks from the gas station, but he declined to comment. The victim of the robbery wouldn't go on camera, but said, quote,
Yeah, well, the man who is accused of trying to rob the gas station while armed with a box cutter, he faces several charges, but the beer-toting customer who fired 7 shots at the would-be robber will not be charged, according to the prosecutor. So yeah, so he knows what's good for him. What is that? I know it's a couple minutes early, but we got a late night. We got a long day to go. Then we've got debate coverage tonight starting at 7 p.m. Central with me and the P for Liberty family. Steffi P will be joining us here live in studio. And then we've got special surprise guests who will also be on the show with us tonight starting at 7 p.m. Central Time. Tune in right here. And if the YouTube stream gets taken down for whatever reason, watch us over on Rumble. If Rumble gets taken down, watch us over on Spreely. If Spreely gets taken down, I don't know what to do. We'll do our best to give you the absolute best show, just like we do every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central. The Wake Up America Show, wakeupAmericaShow.com. Think about everything that we did today. If you watched the whole show, Judge Napolitano, Adam Coleman, the epic Liberty rants. Where else do you get this in the morning? Now is the time to say, you know what, AP, I like what you do. I want to help support you. Become a monthly sponsor to the Wake Up America Show today. You can do it on Rumble or on YouTube or at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Because here's the deal. If you make a monthly contribution to the show, you get something back. If you become a monthly supporter, you get a 20% discount at ap4libertyshop.com. There you go, which I think is excellent. Mike Has Bad News says, who are the surprise guests? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if I told you, right? But do me a favor and if you can't do a monthly contribution, then make a super chat donation or a Rumble rant to help support the show. You'll get a 20% discount at ap4libertyshop.com and help support a good cause. So Nelson65 is going to spend the night with AP and Steffi. Oh, very nice. We'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time right here on the Wake Up America Show. It'll be the Good Night America Show or something like that. We'll call it something else. We'll see you there tonight at AP on the Wake Up America Show, the wakeupAmericaShow.com.